I'd like to, is this working? Yes. I'd like to call the public hearing to order. We have a public hearing of a proposed donation of $50,000 from the Byrne Foundation for Lebanon High School Take Flight program. Is there any comment on this or any further explanation?
We'd like to thank the Byrne Foundation for this donation that will go to the Lebanon High School Take Flight program, where we will start to build our first airplane starting next year.
Okay. All right, we thank the Byrne Foundation for their continued generosity to the high school and the rest of the district. So if there's no other comments, I will close the public hearing. Oh, are there any comments online?
If anyone online wants to speak, please raise your hand.
Appears not. Okay. All right, so I will close the public hearing. Oh, I'd like to call the school board meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment will occur during the public comment portion of the meeting and will be done via raising your hand remotely or in person. During public comment, once acknowledged, please state your name and ward so that it can be included in the minutes. And please limit your time to 3 minutes. Public comment is governed by policy BEDH. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I think separate from the packet, you have 2 handouts regarding strategy that will be addressed.
Thank you. All right. Is there any public comment in the room? Do not see any. Is there any public comment online?
No public comment online.
All right, so we will close the public comment until the end of the meeting. Student reports. Nora.
Did you just press the button on the bottom of the microphone? Sorry.
Nope.
Okay, can you guys hear me now? Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm Nora. So what's going on in the school right now is we're preparing for the 3v3 basketball tournament. So that should be fun. We are currently going around different place stores, like local stores, and asking for donations of gift cards for the winners. And the spring semi-formal is also coming up, so we're preparing for that. Our theme is glow in the dark, so that's going to be really cool to see. Council is actually starting a council closet where we get donations from different students, and it's just an open closet for kids to go in and get, like, say for the upcoming spring formal, if you need like a dress or something, then you can go to the closet and get a dress from there and borrow it. Donations also, like we'd love just if you want to just donate, or you can exchange, you can leave one, take one, but anything's appreciated. So if you have anything to donate, please donate to the LHS closet. We recently, 2 clubs of ours got funds from the Common Good Fund, the Diversity Club, and GenLink. I actually started GenLink, so I'm very happy that we got funds from the Common Good, so that will be used well. Also, Student Council is starting the spring grants, and that just got posted out today, so clubs can apply for that.
Nora, could you explain GenLinks to the
Sure.
group?
Okay, so GenLink, I actually started at my old school, and my brother was the one who founded it. It's a nonprofit club, and it's basically connecting senior citizens and teenagers. This was during COVID when the senior citizens and elderly, they were kind of isolated from everyone else due to COVID, and they were in their senior living homes and they couldn't contact family or see anyone. So my brother decided that it would be a great idea to incorporate technology into that. So he set up like connecting teenagers to elderly by FaceTimes, calling, and he got a lot of volunteers. And I thought that would be a great way to bring it to the Lebanon community. So I turned it into a club here where now we're able to go to these senior living homes and do activities with them. We just recently went to Harvest Hill and we helped with technology, and that was very fun. The seniors loved it. So we are actually going to the Woodlands this Friday to help with technology as well. And then I'm planning on, for the funds that we just got for the common good, to get blankets, and we're gonna make the tie blankets and then donate it to Listen or one of the homeless shelters around. So it's kind of bringing the community together and then also giving back to the community as well as connecting the different generations. So.
Thank you. That's great. Awesome. Are you still, people can join at any point? Students can join at any point?
Oh, yes. Yes, so students, anyone can join. It's always open. Constantly getting new participants like every day. I started at second semester, so next year I'll be full from the start of the school year. So yeah, I'm hoping this stays in the Lebanon High School. So while I leave, someone else will take over and it'll just keep growing. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And when is the spring semi-formal?
I have to check. I think it's in either end of March or in April, around that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It was last minute, so it was hard to get gym time. So it's on a Friday. So yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments for Nora? Thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate
Thank
it. All right, correspondence.
There was none.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. We need a motion to approve the public meeting minutes from January 24th.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 24th, 2024.
And can I get a second? Mary seconds. All right, thank you. Any corrections to the minutes? MJ?
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so under 10C, I think that should say EC instead of EIC. There's two references to that. And then sticking with 10C, so at the bottom of page 5, the motion on the high school handbooks, it says, I asked how students get reassessed when they don't take or pass necessary classes, but what I actually asked was how they get reassessed for the civics naturalization exam if not passed during CIE. And then And then on page 6, under the motion on the high school, is the motion on the high school program of studies, and then after that, there's a discussion on the athletic co-curricular handbook, and I think it's the third sentence from the end. It says, MJ made references for typos, and it should say asked if sports practices are posted on the website calendar as stated in the handbook. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nope. I think that was all. Okay. All those in favor of approving the public meeting minutes from January 24th? Okay, unanimous. Thank you. And then we need a motion for the non-public meeting minutes, which are not, they're not in the packet, so we cannot approve them. We'll wait. We'll do that another time.
Remember having a non-public.
On the 24th?
I don't remember. I don't think we did.
I don't think we did either. Okay, so we're just, we don't have to approve
Didn't.
them.
Yeah, I don't remember having a non-public that night.
If it's not in the minutes, then it didn't happen.
Yeah, we didn't have it. So we'll
That's
try.
right.
It was a rare occasion, but it was
They referenced the wrong grade. It's not there, is it?
have a motion for that. We'll move on. All right, so we need a motion to approve the nominations, renominations, and acknowledge resignations and retirements.
I'll make a motion to approve the nominations and resignation sheet dated February 14th, 2024.
And can I get a second? Someone has a second. Steve's no longer here. All right, Jessica is going to second. Thank you.
Big shoes to fill.
Okay, does anyone have any questions on the nominations, resignations?
I had one question, and it's just kind of a general question. I see the salary for the school psychologist. Is this our typical salary for a school psychologist? And is okay.
This is the candidate that was going to start for a portion of the year, so it was
Oh, okay.
prorated.
Okay.
The candidate
When
withdrew
that's
her
up.
application.
No, not at that salary, especially.
But that is a good clarification.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
So that was a position that was never filled, but then,
The person never started.
okay. So we're looking.
We are still looking and actively searching for school psychologists.
And
school? Yeah.
and then so
And I believe Mount Leb as well.
looking all over the place. Oh, and so our former reading specialist from the high school has now been, from the middle school has now been hired as the high school ELO coordinator.
Correct.
Great, that's good. Okay, any other questions, comments? No? All right, all those in favor of approving the nominations, renominations, and resignations and retirements, please raise your hands. Okay, unanimous, thank you very much. Okay, this is not on your agenda, but as some of you know, Steve Cantor is no longer going to be a member of the board because he has moved to Enfield. And so he has asked that we read a letter that he wrote sort of as he's leaving. On March 12th, Lebanon voters will have the opportunity to make their voices heard. This is not just a civic duty, but a privilege and a right that all should exercise. If you want to have your say in how your school district is run, make your voice count by casting your vote. Every vote counts. Only those votes that were never cast do not. For the past 3 years, I have enjoyed the privilege of serving on the Lebanon School Board. I thank this amazing community for entrusting me with this honor and duty. This time has been meaningful and gratifying to me, far exceeding my expectations. Now, as I near the end of my term and having relocated to Enfield, the time has come for me to step aside and make way for new board members to continue this important duty. Serving with this board guarantees to be meaningful for anyone who shares this passion and is willing to work together with a group of community volunteers, your fellow board members who, almost without exception, are some of the most caring, compassionate, and passionate people I've come to know. You also get the chance to meet and collaborate with some of the truly dedicated and often awe-inspiring educators and administrators our school district is so very lucky to have. A special shout out to those who inspire me to spend the countless hours in public and non-public meetings, committee work sessions, and homework prep hours along the way. Our new and fantastic Superintendent Amy Allen, Business Administrator Tim Ball, who is an unsung hero in the district, and LHS Principal Ian Smith, who continually demonstrates levels of educational expertise and administrative prowess, both in the most caring and respectful fashion. So, if you are content with how things are functioning in our city and in our schools, please consider stepping up to help keep things that way. If you have concerns about any of this, I urge you to similarly step up and help effect changes. If public office is not your cup of tea, then at the very least, step up and vote for those who can fulfill this mandate in your stead. And I just want to echo Steve's sentiments here. We're grateful for his service. And Amy, want to say something?
Sure. On behalf of the Lebanon School District community, I would like to extend our appreciation to Steve Cantor for his dedicated service as a valuable school board member. Steve's commitment to enhancing our schools has made a positive impact on our district. Throughout his tenure, Steve's passion for education, advocacy for students, teachers, and families has been inspiring. As Steve steps down from his role on the board, we offer our heartfelt gratitude for his service and extend our best wishes for his future endeavors.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, that brings us to our SAU leadership team updates.
Thank you. Tonight, I am presenting to you the communication survey that was completed in December of 2023. As you can tell, we had 329 responses to the communication survey. I want to take you to the last page to go through some of the action steps that we are going to be taking. We've already shared this data with the school district leadership teams, and schools are reviewing their own particular data and adjusting communication practices as necessary. We're starting to streamline the amount of information going out from all of our sources. At the beginning of the year, we will be providing detailed information about supply lists, schedules, expectations, dismissal, grading reports, and emergency procedures. We're going to be creating communication protocols district-wide. We're going to have set consistent expectations for building administration around teacher communications directly with families regarding testing, progress, challenges, and student achievements. We're going to, in the next month, work on a video for newcomers to our district. We are currently setting up a system to check through our web pages regularly to make sure our pages are updated. We are going to create a place where families and taxpayers can ask questions and make suggestions. And an RFP for a new school district website will be included in the school year 25-26 budget. We also, reviewing this, we're able to make some immediate changes. So we've increased our school messenger capacity. So now family members on snow calls and emergencies will receive, when opting in, text messages, phone calls, and emails. This has a translation feature, so it will be able to reach more of our stakeholders. We've added the school year calendar to the website. We've added the ALMA link to all school homepages. The school board page has been updated. The superintendent archives have been updated. We've included agenda links with the school board calendar and the district calendar. Diane has reformatted her weekly newsletter based on feedback, and we've added LMS and co-curricular offerings to the web. A lot of the feedback, as you can tell, focused around our website and the different newsletters from the different schools. So we are trying to get everyone on board and use this more newsletter fashion. We will be providing this feedback to the LMS interim principal and full-time principal when they're on board too, since a lot of the feedback was delivered around the communications at the middle school.
Thanks. Does anybody have any questions, follow-ups for Amy? Jessica?
I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to make sure I do. The responses in the survey that are listed here are just given as 1 to 5. My memory of the survey is that 1 was sort of don't agree at all. 5 was I agree
Yes.
strongly. That was kind of the scale.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
MJ?
And I just want to say that thank you for taking a great look at the survey and also realizing that some things could be implemented immediately to make some change and impact for positive. So I really appreciate that you did that.
Sorry, one other thing I did want to mention was that the question about social media platforms has been an interesting one. I'm sure you guys are addressing this in your conversations about how to move forward. I think that one piece of that question that seemed to me didn't really come out was that to the extent that there are some non-users of any social media platform, or there are some non-users of certain platforms, sometimes it's an access issue, but sometimes it's actually a more deeply held stance than that in terms of people's philosophies around personal social media use and privacy concerns. So I think that if the district considers social media platforms to be an appropriate way to get information out to the community, it needs to be considered that there are people who will be self-excluding very intentionally from those platforms. I think that's something that I think different businesses and different organizations have struggled with a little bit in terms of how they use social media and whether required information is shared on social media. I'm sure you guys are being thoughtful about that, but I just wanted to call it out because there wasn't an option in the survey to sort of talk about that in any particular way. So
Thank you, and I think that's really one of the reasons why we need to revamp our website, is to make it more user-friendly and have that as that main place where everything is stored, and then have those social media outlets for other things too. But we should have one place where all that information can be updated and timely.
And one place where it can be updated and timely that doesn't carry as much baggage as use of social media platforms does.
Correct. Thank you for
Yeah,
the
thank
feedback.
you.
So, random thought, question, wonder. So this was specific to like district teachers and families and stuff like that. Have we had any conversations around how our coaches communicate to players and or families? And if we haven't, that might be a good place to sort of have conversations around.
I think that will go back to policy and some of our communicating with students around social media usage and some of the safety pieces. I need to talk with IT around that too. What platforms should we be communicating with students,
Between
coaches and students?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and even just, because I know when Angus was at the high school, you know, like practice information would be sort of blasted out on Snapchat. I don't know.
Yes, to students.
And then others would, I mean, they were sort of, like some students didn't have that, but they had one other one that they were using, you know, like.
And I've
so-
heard from parents from that too, is if they're just the athletes are getting the information, oftentimes that the parents are the ones responsible for getting
Transporting.
transporting. So that is something that we will need to work on.
Just, thank you.
I will say we've been using this year for Nordic Google Classroom as everybody, the teachers and the
Yes,
I mean,
that's
the
been
parents,
really actually
the parents
helpful.
and the kids are in the same classroom. And it's amazing. You get all the same information. Everybody gets it. It's great. And there's pictures and there's
And the kids get it too. I
yeah,
mean, it's.
everybody gets it. It's lovely. And I wanted to echo what MJ was saying. I really appreciate the action steps, the longer term, the midterm, and the immediate action steps, because I think that there was some low-hanging fruit that this brought to our attention. So I'm glad that that has been addressed really quickly, and I do appreciate that that you're moving in the direction, the district is moving in the direction of a communication protocols district-wide, because I think that's really important for all communication. So.
A couple of the schools had asked you if they could do a survey with their own school and their families, and I said that would be great if they want to go deeper into some of those questions about how to get more feedback from families.
Yeah. Any other comments on the communication survey? Okay. All right, then that moves us to business administrators update. Tim.
Good evening. Just a few updates on things before we get to the report. Just in the whole operations section, I guess, if you will. We're just moving forward with tax season. Hopefully you've gotten your tax document as appropriate from us. We're actually excited. We're implementing a new time clock system for our hourly employees, getting closer. So we're excited about getting away from these spreadsheets. It's everything is. It's a little bit more work than you'd like, but we're getting close. I wanted to point out or let you guys know that the RFP for food service is required by the state every 5 years, and we have published that. It's on our website. There's an ad in the Manchester paper last Sunday and this Sunday. That'll be out for about 2 months, and then hopefully we'll get some good bids, and we'll be talking to finance facilities at least about the recipients. What goes into the RFP is very structured by the state, and it's pretty standard. It's very standard. So we put the bid out I reached out to like 7 companies, but I'm not optimistic that more than 2 will respond. There's 2 that are pretty big in this area. We do have a new facilities director we're going to be bringing to you next board meeting. And also next board meeting, you'll see a public hearing. We actually have to withdraw the money from the cap reserve fund for Mount Leb. We've not done that. So just want to give you a heads up on that. We finally have all the numbers all tied up on that. So that'll be fun. Under the report, tried to summarize really what my thoughts on the cover sheet. So the monthly expenditure report, you see we're at 91.93% expended. And that is higher than last year and previous years, but I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mentioned this before, but it's a little higher, and that makes me a little nervous, meaning more expended. But we've had pretty significant fund balances in recent years, so I think we're okay, but I am monitoring it closely. If everything on the warrant passes, we would want hopefully, in a dream world, we would have 1.850 remaining, because we have $1 million go back to taxes, $600,000 to the building capital reserve, and $250 for special ed. So in a dream world, that's what we would have left. The way it'll go from here on out is I'll be monitoring, and then usually around April break, always around April break, we close off the ability to do purchase orders. Maybe we do that a week earlier, I'm not sure. I'll monitor it. But then after we close off purchase orders, then we start sort of compiling the numbers, and usually we present a list of projects if we think there's money left for the board to approve for the end of the year projects or expenditures. And that's the end of April, early May timeframe. Questions, comments?
The fiscal, the last day of our fiscal year is
June 30th.
Is June 30th.
Right. But usually the last board meeting we have is the first board meeting in June. So all decisions really need to get made by then. So.
Does anybody have any other questions for Tim?
The plan for the plane, in case you don't know, is we're thinking we can use the 3-bay garage, which is one of the big garages out by the track. We are meeting with the fire department to see what would need to happen in that space to have a class in there. As you might imagine, it's a garage, so there is heat, but the lighting is really dim. I'm not sure there's enough heat. It's just a big old Modine heater. So that's kind of on our immediate plate, is to get that up to speed. So the fire department will get back to us. I don't think we're going to need anything special because it's not a hangar. The poor guy was like, well, it's not really an airplane hangar. There's a whole separate, it's just this. So we're trying to figure out if we just need more fire extinguishers or whatever, but we'll keep you posted. Hopefully it's not very much.
As they explained to us, it's not an airplane. It's never an airplane until it's granted airworthiness.
Right.
So it's
And
not
we-
an airplane until it goes to the airport.
What
Right.
do we call it in the meantime?
I don't know.
Okay.
And we're not going to have, I mean, in case people were curious, there won't be fuel storage on site or anything, because it's really a construction project, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Big paperweight.
Lots of little pieces. Okay, any other questions for Tim?
I just have a question as
Yeah.
far as like, do we want to move the handbook stuff up so that Karen can,
Where is it? Sorry, it's already at the very
new
end.
business A?
Yeah, well, we'll move it to unfinished business B. That's a good plan. It's just, you're all right. Okay. Okay. It will not take long. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Okay, that moves us on to unfinished business A. Jessica has consented, and we're very grateful to her for consenting to give us a little presentation leveraging some of her professional skills, which we always appreciate on this board, to help move us along in the discussion of how the board strategizes things. And this is in line with the wider district discussion that's going to be happening about strategic planning. So it's talking about the board's role in their own strategic planning. So we have handouts on this, and we're ready to listen. Thanks.
Okay. I'm not going to do a lot of talking because this is, without context and without an example, this is a little bit of gobbledygook in my mind, and I don't want to get too far down into the weeds in terms of an example and whatever else here, but this is kind of an overview, and then you can ask questions, we can have a conversation as you see fit. But so I'm just going to read something to you first, and then we'll talk about this document, which you can be reviewing as I talk. So I'm going to just talk briefly about 2 points. One is, why is the strategic planning process a good idea for the school board? And the second is, what could a strategic planning process look like? So to my mind, a strategic planning process is a good idea for the school board because, first, a framework would help the board collaboratively define the outcomes we're looking for in the district. And second, clearly defined outcomes and priorities would enable even more productive collaboration with our superintendent and her deputies. So those are kind of to my mind, the big highlights for why this would be a good idea, why a strategic planning process would be a good idea. Discerning the community's goals and priorities for our district is important and very complex work. It's a collective process, not the judgment of an individual or even 9 individuals. And importantly, the answers are not static. So the district's goals and priorities from 100 years ago are not the same as they are today. And the district's goals and priorities from 25 years ago are not the same as they are today. These things change, and they should. That's appropriate and reasonable. So it's ongoing work. It's not a set it and forget it kind of process. It's also a core job of the school board to articulate the outcomes that we're looking for in our district. The process doesn't require perfect agreement on all points, but it does require the sharing of perspectives, understanding, and experience from all board members, as well as our constituents, our district staff, and our students. So moving on to this specific framework, which is one of many different kinds of frameworks a group could use. I like the IDEO. IDEO is a consulting firm that focuses on design thinking. I like this framework because it prioritizes a collaborative and cooperative process that's not controlled by a single individual. In my experience, it can produce a more cohesive group with a shared understanding of the situation and the possible future outcomes. So I'm going to give you a quick outline of this process. It's going to look a lot like me reading what's on this document, which you have in front of you, so I don't really need to do that, but I'll try to make it quick. The strategy process map is this little picture in the bottom corner you've got there. It's got 7 steps. I would, for our purposes, I think the first 4 are kind of the most important to consider. Step 1 is identifying your strategic problem. The classic thing is a problem well framed is half solved. So first, thinking about what isn't working, what is it that we want to focus on. An example of this is only, I'm going to minimize my examples, but an example would be rising, district costs that are rising faster than revenues. That would be an example of an issue, a problem. Special ed costs that are significantly increasing. Aging infrastructure at the same time that students' needs are changing. Those would be examples of a strategic problem that the board might want to address. Step 2, framing a strategic question. The idea is that you take that problem and you frame it as a question. They recommend a how might we question. This is sort of a way of turning your brain around into thinking more about how to, getting everybody to think about how we might solve something. So that's what that is. Step 3, generating strategic possibilities. As a group, you work through a lot of different possibilities for how you could address your strategic question. Step 4, you ask what would have to be true. This is a way of drawing out the conditions which would need to be in play for your strategic possibilities to be a good idea. So if having a ton of money is something that would have to be true for this to be a good idea, that's something you would need to sort of surface and talk about. If having very committed and proactive staff members is a condition that you would need, these are the things that you want to articulate very clearly so that you make sure that those conditions are actually real or that you can make them real. Step 5, you identify barriers. Basically, you look at those conditions that you have identified as being very important, and you think about the ones that you're really worried aren't true. And then those are the conditions you're going to focus a lot on in terms of doing surveys or doing research, designing tests to gather more information. That's step 6, you're testing. Step 7, making a choice. I would worry less about the last 3. Those are a little bit more applicable in some other situations, but I think those first 4 steps are a really helpful way of getting a group on the same page, not in perfect agreement, but with a shared understanding of the issue that you're trying to address and how you're going to talk about it in a collaborative way. So in terms of how the board could implement this process, my suggestion would be starting with a 3-hour meeting. 3 hours is an amount of time that you kind of need to get into topics like this. You have to be able to sort of run down some rabbit holes and ask a lot of questions and whatever else. In a 3-hour meeting, I think you could address steps 1 and 2, identifying a strategic problem, and then also framing a strategic question. And then at a later date, another 3-hour meeting to address steps 3 and 4. If the board was, I'm sort of offering that up just as a way to give people a sense of, in my experience, sort of how long it takes, what this might actually look like. If the board's interested, we could work together to develop a more detailed proposal for the agenda on those meetings, who might participate, that kind of thing. But I wanted to just sort of shove all of this at you for now. You've also got something in here about the strategy choice cascade. This is very interesting and very useful, but I'm not actually going to talk about it right now because I think we've got enough. Those are my words.
So I have just a quick question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Super helpful. So if I'm understanding correctly, this is what you're sharing with us is sort of a process that we can use when questions like the problems that you were saying. So not necessarily thinking about this, like creating a strategic plan, like what we've had. This is more how to handle, how can the board think strategically about problems that come up.
So I think it's a great, you're putting your finger on a very interesting point about this process, which is part of the reason I really like it. It actually works at all levels. So one of the ways that I've seen this implemented is that an organization as a whole, sort of the leadership team of an organization, will do this process for the organization at a high level, but then individual departments within that organization will also do their own version of this process. So it actually, you can use it to address at a high level, you know, if we wanted to talk about the Lebanon School District and its 5-year plan, you could use this process. Yeah. If you wanted to talk about a more specific aspect of that, again, you know, rising district costs, then you could also use this process. And what you would actually find in doing this process is you would be pushed towards root cause analysis, to sort of saying, what's actually going on here? What are the problems that we're actually facing that we need to try to solve? So I think it can be, in my experience, it can be used to address a wide range of problems, which is part of the reason it's very useful. Because once you've started using it, you can use it kind of again and again.
So you could even use it in committee work.
Correct. It would actually, what you would want is actually that the board as a whole would be sort of thinking at a high level about some of these things, but then the committees would also be sort of thinking in the same way about their own work. Sort of, okay, what are we, so, yeah.
So that's kind of, my question kind of piggybacks on that. And I think you answered it, but just let me make sure that I understand. I think that when we're doing this, to me, it feels like when we have that first meeting where we grapple with steps 1 and 2, that there might be multiple questions happening, right?
Yes.
That and we are free to, I mean, assuming we're making this up as we go along, we can do this, but we're free to do multiple questions simultaneously, because I don't think that we're at the point where we could just narrow anything down to one major question. I think there's several things. They may all be related, but we don't.
And I think to me, that's why that's actually a real strength of the process, is that when you have that initial conversation where you identify the strategic problem that the group wants to address, you can frame it however, the group wants to, so that it's, and I think that when you have the conversation as a group, you often frequently discover that the issues that individual board members are bringing forward are related. We may be looking at them from different perspectives, we may have different ideas about what's going on, but ultimately they're often very similar issues. I think, I was trying to figure out how to talk to you guys about this. I had a whole thing about the fact that, like, we in many ways aren't facing an acute crisis right in this moment. We don't have sort of, in terms of, we have a lot of really great things going for us in our district. And so you might say, well, gee, why do we need to do a process like this? But the truth is that I think as soon as everybody brings forward the things that they are concerned about, and we start talking about them I think the perspective would come together relatively quickly.
Okay, are there other questions for Jessica right now?
Nope.
Kevin, Tia, any questions? Yoda?
And we can think about this process separate from our retreat,
Yeah.
like, so that we're doing,
Yeah, I mean, I think we had discussed doing it at the retreat, but I think it's because that was the time when we're having a big meeting that has less of an agenda. So we can have a separate meeting that we're doing just for, which I think is good. What you're proposing makes sense, and then it doesn't get tangled up with retreat, which has specific purposes as well. So, so yeah. So does everyone? I guess that's the next question for the board. Like, does this make sense to us? Do we feel like this is something that we can commit to doing at least these initial 2 meetings?
And I think
in
we
addition
can,
to that?
I mean, we could come up with a different way, like, this is a very flexible
Yes.
process, but I think I did want to sort of say, like, this is a way that we could start, but it's very much up to the board.
I think it's worth,
Trying, I think.
yeah, let's see what comes up.
I think
mean,
it's a good experience for all the board members to participate at first, and then if it changes.
Yeah, I kind of like this. That's actually what I like the most about it is the flexibility of the big scale, the small scale, the sort of multi-scales happening at once. So I do like that. I think that's helpful. So we would need to schedule those meetings. Obviously, they're not on our calendars right now. They could be something that we do in summer, depending on whether people are around or not. We can talk about that. I guess what I think I'll go ahead.
Do we need to, one thing that we'd need to find out is whether we have to, doing this type of conversation, if the whole board is together, do we need to have it be an open meeting with all the, or if we can do it,
I'm assuming it would
I'm
be.
assuming it would be, because the retreat is open. I mean, it's just, people never come, but it's still open. So, I mean, I think it would still be open, but we would say what the agenda is, right? So it's not like it would be a thing that would appeal to maybe other people besides us.
Well, and I think, I mean, part of the process in my mind is that you do want to make sure that there's a lot of, that you have information about different perspectives from, and different sort of constituents, community, you know, whatever, however you want to think about it, sort of people who are involved. And I think I know some of what we have in terms of surveys, in terms of past work. I know some of that stuff, but I don't know all of it. And so I think, like, part of a big piece of this being effective would be in the planning of it and the sort of setting of the agenda, the figuring out what information needs to be sort of laying the table for it appropriately. And I think you know, sort of we may need additional sort of opportunities for community members or students or staff or something to contribute, but I think we do have a lot of stuff like that from you know, past work, and I think it's,
And that to me seems
that's
like
all valid.
That to me seems like something that we might know better after that initial meeting, and then we'd be able to kind of adjust from there. So, okay, so I think I have a proposal. If I send an email to everyone and we talk about dates for this, and times for this, you can respond back to me about availability, when these things might be best to be done and sort of off of our normal schedule, and then we'll have a plan by the time we come back for our next board meeting of scheduling. Does that make sense to everyone?
I
Yes.
just want to make sure I sort of understand the assignment. And
Yes.
So basically the question we'd be addressing is what isn't working. You come with your what isn't working list. Is that the idea, or are we working on framing what that assignment is still?
I mean, I think for, like, once we actually had a meeting set up and we said, yes, we're going to do this, like, let's go forth, then yes, I think the idea would be, you know, I would be happy to, like, give more specific instruction for, like, how to do it. But yeah, basically you'd come with your list of, like, here's all the stuff I'm worried about, and here's what I think a problem that we need to talk about is, and we'd sort of come together, and we would have a process for sort of sharing that stuff and working through, kind of we'd work through all of that together.
Does that make sense? Okay, that's a good question though. Any other questions? Okay, so yes.
So I would encourage, not that I like to have stuff to do in the summer around board work, but I feel like just given the election, new board members onboarding, our retreat, wrapping up end of year.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be summer, potentially.
It would be, you know, I think the summer would be a good time to just sort of have more space to,
Well, and I think I mean, that's why I'm gonna send it to you in email, so you can look at your schedules and look at your family plans, and we can
yeah.
plan around that, which that doesn't have to be. We don't have to do that now, because I certainly don't know all the answers yet, but I will. All right, so just now between now and our next meeting, which will be the 28th, you'll be getting emails from me about this, so just look for those.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yes, thank you very much. It's very helpful. All right. That brings us to we're going to move discussion and action of the LMS Handbook and Program of Studies up to now. So that will become 9B. And while Karen is getting herself up here, as you know, we sent back the LMS Handbook and Program of Studies for additional editing and clarifications of things, and so many of those things have happened. You've seen the changes now in the draft that you've had, and Karen is here to answer questions that you might have about it and talk about the process a little bit.
Great. I can stand. Can I take this and sit?
You can take it and sit if you want.
Or maybe you have no questions and I'll just be quick. I feel like maybe I should
Just
sit.
I mean, I think
I've read it.
Yeah, I think we can just
we
go
dive
into
in.
questions.
Yeah, I think we just dive in. There we go. In brief, there was lots of going back and forth between Karen, administration, EC, everyone involved, high school, everyone. So she's chased a lot of rabbits down a lot of rabbit holes to solve some problems. So,
And I'll just thank those of you who provided me with feedback and corrections. Notably, Lil was helpful with some errors that were took a parent's eye in the system to notice, and the building leaders were helpful as well in looking at each of these things. So why don't we just dive in with questions?
right. So we'll do the handbook first. So yeah, we'll start with the handbook.
So in the handbook has the athletic stuff?
It does.
Yes.
Okay, so I have some questions.
Yes, okay, so
specifically about the
start from the
athletic
direction
stuff.
you like
Great.
And I was just jotting notes down on a little sticky note that I may or may not actually be able to understand fully, but we'll try.
It's not important then.
Absolutely.
So the one question, so in the section where it lists the different offerings,
Yes.
it looks like wrestling was noted in one section a little differently than it was in the parentheses or something was different. Like it's more descriptive in one than the other place where it's listed.
Oh, good point. It says there's an important note that it's a pilot program in partnership with LHS, and I should copy that to the spring.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll make that change.
And then I had a question about, because we list in that upper section before we start listing, we talk about like the rec department, specifically for the 5th and 6th. We talk about rec stuff, or no, sorry, 7th and 8th. We talk about rec stuff, and then like the hockey stuff and baseball. Can we add the Upper Valley Rowing Foundation? Because we have a number of kids that actually participate in that as well.
That's fine.
Okay.
I was going based on what was already in there, and I almost added the phrase, this list is not exhaustive, because there are, of course, dance and art opportunities that are also co-curricular in the Upper Valley. We can't possibly list them all. I'm happy to add that one if that's a...
Yeah, no, I think because we have a number of kids and they're going to increase the program to 6th graders, and even though it says the Upper Valley Rowing Junior program, it really is a most of the kids are from Lebanon,
Great.
both in the middle school and the high school.
And
then
it is...
the Upper Valley Rowing Foundation, UVRF.
And the season, because I'm not a rower, is...
Well, I don't know if in middle school.
It's just spring.
Just spring.
Just spring.
Winter on the ice.
Thank you.
And then in that athletics section, it talks about EMTs at all games, and that's not true. I think it's only at football.
That was per the Lebanon Middle School athletic director. So
Never
everything
even at the
that
basketball game.
got added was vetted by him, and that was what I was told is the case.
I guess I would check, because when we had discussed this at budget 2 years ago, because there was an EMT line in the budget, we were told that the EMTs in the ambulance were only for football games, and I personally have never seen,
Yeah,
I've
I
seen
don't-
the athletic
I don't
trainer
even-
maybe in
I don't
EMT.
even see them at the soccer games,
I will double check.
the high school
Um,
stuff either.
Okay.
So,
I'll double check the,
and there's always an athletic trainer around.
Well, I don't
But
think here there is.
I don't believe there's trainers paid to join any middle school events.
So this is middle
it's an
school, but I
EMT or
also
nothing.
don't think EMTs are at middle school events. I think maybe the athletic director is probably trained in some kind of first aid, but I'm not sure that he's
an E
an
EMT.
EMT.
Right.
And he's definitely not always at every, because he has other coverage. So.
There were a lot of back and forths around all these issues, so this is good to know. I'll continue to dig into it.
I think that was all for me.
MJ? So, sticking sort of with the athletics, let's see. So, well, looking at pages 16, 17, and 19, there's several different references about students being absent more than 3 hours, but sometimes a student can be absent more than 3 hours, have an excused absence, and still attend things. Other times, they're completely excluded from attending things. And the very last one, a 19, actually conflicts. It says, any student who is absent more than 3 hours of a school day may not attend after-school or evening school activities. The principal or designee may waive this requirement due to special circumstances. But that actually conflicts with the athletic policy under number 3 on page 16. It says a student who is absent more than 3 hours due to an illness or an unexcused absence may not participate. So to me, that implies if it was an excused absence, you could still participate. So I think there's just, I don't care what direction we go, but there's a conflict
Again,
about excused, unexcused, and
I'm in
3
a
hours.
tricky position here, not being the building administrators who have to implement this. I think the thing that the wording that we changed, again, also I'm not sure what to do here.
No,
There's not been
I think what
robust,
happened. I
res-
think what happened here is we changed that wording on 16, and I don't think that we
noticed that it was
that it
in
was
the other
also
two
on
places.
19.
Got it. So I will use the wording for 16.
Well, and it's under dances on number 7 too, because it says if you're absent more than you can attend, but the athletic policy seems you could attend as long as it wasn't for illness or an unexcused absence.
Right.
So I think we just need to pick a direction.
I think the
on
direction
when you can
yeah.
attend and when you
I think
can't.
the direction we intended and that they intended is the one under the number 3 under the athletic thing. It just never got moved to
Right.
the dance. And
So then
the
it needs to get moved to the
dance and the what was the other-
Dances and where's
And
the other
it's
place?
page 19
Page-
under absences in general.
Okay. I'm going to just make the executive decision that we're going with the wording on page 16 for
Yeah.
athletics. I think the idea there that we were discussing at the SAU is if your
excuse.
mom made you a dentist appointment on the morning of the dance, you ought to be able to go to the dance because that'd be mean. But if you threw up and went home, don't come to the dance.
Right.
There we go.
And then just on the thing I printed out, the table of contents has a lot of errors on it. It actually says error bookmark not defined in a couple places. And then the page numbering is all messed up, so you just might want to check the formatting on that.
Any others for handbook? Anything else for handbook for anybody else? Okay, so then we'll switch to, oh, no, you do? No, okay. So then we'll switch to program of studies.
I'd like to just start with a correction that we made earlier today. In addition to two minor spelling errors that were discovered in the late-breaking revision, we also noticed that there was a class in digital media studies that is not going to be offered next year, and we've removed that from the program of studies. I'm not sure how it got through the first several iterations, but it's gone now.
That was one of my
even though it
main
appears in the
questions.
copy that you're looking at.
Okay, go ahead, MJ.
So you took my thunder, that was my main question.
Sorry, MJ.
But,
I
so
didn't mean to take the wind out of your sails there.
But let's move on to band and chorus electives.
Yeah.
It seems like the last sentence also needs to be carried through because 5 and 6 band has 3 concerts performed a year that are required. 7th and 8th band, it says, doesn't actually say they ever have to go to a concert and it's not required, but I believe they do have required concerts. On 5 and 6, chorus elective, it's expected to participate, but I guess we should have the same language, they're required to participate. And then I think in 7th and 8th grade chorus, again, it's silent on the concerts and the requirements. So I think we just need to clean up that language and decide again which direction we're going.
Yeah, and I think you're right, MJ, that it's really the sentence from 5th and 6th grade band, that it should be the same for all of them. 3 concerts will be performed during the year, which will be required for all performers. That is true for chorus and band and all of the things, so you're right.
For 5th, 6th,
For 5th,
7th,
6th,
and
7th,
8th.
all of them.
Okay. Thank you.
That's an easy fix. Yay. That's it? Okay. Any others for program of studies? No? No?
We appreciate your.
Yes, thank you for doing this and thanking the administration for working with you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Going once?
Don't give them 3
So-
chances.
Yeah. So we do need to take action on this. So we need a motion to approve the LMS handbook and program of studies as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the LMS handbook and LMS program of studies as amended.
And a second, Mary? Okay. Any further discussion or questions? No? Okay, all those in favor? Excellent. All right, thank you. Great. All right, that moves us back to unfinished business. We're talking about the second reading of some policies.
So the first motion would be to withdraw policy DIR.
Okay. Do you want to just do that?
That's my, yep.
Yeah, okay. So we have, Wendy's made a motion to withdraw policy DIR. Can I get a second? Seconded by Tia. And it's withdrawn. Does anybody have anything to say about that? No? Okay.
Why are we withdrawing?
Why are we withdrawing it?
I believe it's going to, if,
It's gonna be moved
It's
into
incorporated into another policy.
DJER.
That's what
Or
I was
no,
thinking.
DJE.
Yeah, it's redundant.
Right? Sorry, DJE. So it's moved, incorporated into DJE, which is the bidding one, or is it incorporated into something else?
no, I don't think it's, I wonder if it's already in DI, is what it is.
Yeah, I think that it was
I think
a
it's already in
redundant
DI.
DI.
Oh, okay, DI. Okay. I see.
I can dig back through my piles
That's all right.
if you like.
I believe you. Okay. Any other questions about DIR withdrawal? All right, all those in favor? Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then, a motion to approve policies, the policies listed under C and D, so ECAF and KCD.
Okay, motion by Wendy, seconded by Tia. Thank you. I have a question, a couple questions on this one. So first, ECAF, the third underlined heading says procedures concerning usage and retention of audio recordings.
Say that again, where are you?
On
Right here.
ECAF, the
Okay.
third underlined heading.
Yep.
And then in the discussion, it talks, in the paragraphs below, it talks about who may view and listen, or the recordings may only be viewed or heard. So should that heading actually be audio and video recordings, not just audio?
Yes. Yes.
That makes sense.
Okay.
And my only question is, Amy, I don't know if all the referenced policies are policies that we actually have, and I don't know what the notations and parentheses are.
Excuse
So we just want to
Double check that.
just double check that
Double check those ones.
before we publish it.
Okay.
There's a couple of grammatical things, but I'll just pass that all back to Amy. No one needs to talk about those.
The usual.
Yes. That's my only one for ECAF. Does anybody else have anything for ECAF? Okay, and then KCD, I have a quick question. In the 4th full paragraph that starts the superintendent, didn't this law just change? So the superintendent may accept gifts subject to the terms of this policy in the amount of $2,500 or less. Didn't the law change and say that if it was $500 or more, the board had to?
I think that this is the most,
I mean, I'd be willing to ask our attorney. Our policy changed, but at the time, and I'm not an expert, that's why I'd like to ask a lawyer. I remember thinking, why are we changing this to make this so restrictive? So I don't know that the law changed, but our policy changed to that.
Okay. So
I actually saw this and thought this is better than we have now, but maybe there's a law that changed.
well, we
that I'm
can't.
not
But
aware of.
if it conflicts so when we were talking about the four, was it for this policy or was it for a different policy that you were saying it felt restrictive?
When we went to everything $500 or more had to come to you guys for approval, that was more restrictive. And before, it was just an acknowledgement that the superintendent would read.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it
Yeah.
this way. I just want to make sure that if it was a law, I thought it was a law change. If
I
it
don't
was a
know.
law
I'll
change,
try
I
to-
just
I'll
wanted to
double
make
check.
sure we'll check that. That was my only, substantive question. Any other questions on KCD? Okay, so do we need, since we have a couple of questions, but they're not, we can just go ahead and?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of, approving, sorry, I was like, what are we doing? All those in favor of approving the second readings of policy ECAF and KCD? Okay, great, thanks. Which brings us to new business and more
Okay.
policies.
So, in the list of policies on our agenda, we just need to pull out E, because we mark that as reviewed within the policy committee, so we don't need to have a first reading of that here.
Which one?
ECA.
Sorry, ECA.
Yep.
Is it even here?
Revised, it was, we reviewed without revision, so.
Yeah, we just reviewed it. There were no revisions, but it had gotten added to the agenda.
Prior.
And then we're going to move policy DJER. It's a policy to be withdrawn as well. So we just need to separate that out. I guess we can move it if we're gonna move it to a second.
For withdraw, yeah, we have to move it to a second, right, because it's withdrawn.
And then the policy regarding CBI, regarding the superintendent evaluation, we actually did not feel like it needed any changes from what it is. So we were going to mark it reviewed in the committee, but we felt like because we've had big board discussions around it, so we can just pull that one out and just mark it reviewed because there's no changes to it. And we would have done that in committee, but we wanted to make sure you guys had your eyes on it and knew what we were doing, so you didn't feel like.
Yeah, I actually thought, I was surprised at the broadness of it allows everything we're already planning, so it didn't seem like it necessitated anything dramatic. Did you have something?
No, I guess I'm having trouble following you because you're saying reviewed, we'll just mark it as reviewed and take it out, but then we have some other ones on here that were just marked as reviewed. So it seems like sometimes we take action to just acknowledge they were reviewed. So are you proposing just completely take them off the agenda and pretend we never saw them on here, or?
Well, no, so the number E should never have been on the agenda, but it got added to the agenda. We had the meeting on Monday, all we did was review it, so I just wanted to make that comment.
But I guess then, how is that different than DBJ, which also was just reviewed, but made it to the agenda? That's where I'm having the trouble reconciling.
Those are,
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, what is reviewed and revised?
That should not be noted as reviewed.
Okay. All right, so we're looking at, so so they all have something, so,
So if they make it to here,
yeah,
then they're revised in some way,
okay, so they would take off.
or
where it says-
we're withdrawing them.
Okay, so where it says reviewed on B, 10B, it's not, we can take that off. Where it says 10C reviewed, we can take that off, right?
D, yep.
10D reviewed, take that off. And
So wait a minute, we take out B, C, D.
just taking the word reviewed off, not
Oh.
the whole, not the whole thing. It's just the review doesn't mean anything. That's what she's saying. So that.
Right, they're policies that we've modified, so that's why they're here. It just, when the agenda was made, it got noted as reviewed, and that's
okay.
not.
I'm on the same page now, thanks.
That was very
Took a while to
confusing.
get there, but I'm there.
It was very confusing, but now it's good. Okay, so,
So,
make whatever motion you would
Okay.
like to make.
I'll go with whatever at this point.
so I would like to make a motion to move policy DJR for a second reading to be withdrawn.
Okay,
Okay?
can we get a second? Okay, Tia? All right, so we're just moving that to the second reading because it's withdrawn. Any additional discussion? No?
That
All
was
those-
DGER?
Yes.
Okay, I missed the hearing of the
Mhm.
E. That makes it comprehensible.
All those in favor? Okay, great.
And then I'll make a motion to mark policy CBI as reviewed.
Okay, so motion by,
Oh, you got it.
motion by Wendy, second by Mary.
CEI?
CBI.
C. Okay, just reviewed, excellent. There, yes, there's a little bit of grammar stuff that I just will include in my list.
CBI?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a couple, not a big deal. Okay, so that's a motion, by Wendy, seconded by Mary, all those.
So
in-
we won't see that one on the next agenda.
CB and I.
CBI.
Yeah, CB and I. BCI. I got it.
This one at the bottom.
Yes, I.
Okay,
But
good.
it's BC, right? Would it be BCI? Or you said CDI or BC?
It's real, look,
It's the policy.
What is
Oh,
not just me?
CBI. Okay, yes, I got it.
Oh,
Got
you were
it.
thinking CB
BI,
and I
yes.
as the list.
Because they're reviewed. Okay, yes.
This
It's
is
I.
so confusing.
Carter.
I know, it's never like
Help
this.
me out
I don't
now.
know what's happening.
CBI
Is reviewed, and it won't come back.
But we need to vote on the motion.
Right. All those in favor of marking CBI as reviewed and never seen it again? Excellent, okay?
Okay, so then I'll make a motion to move the following policies to a second reading. EEAA, JICC, DBJ, DJE, and EBB.
EBB. Okay. All right.
I can
We have a
second.
motion to move all of those to second
Okay.
reading, seconded by Tia.
Yep.
Okay, any substantive questions on any of these?
So I just wanted to let Jessica know, because we talked about DBJ, or finance and facilities in general. We wanted to make sure that the board was notified, that we didn't have to approve certain appropriations. I looked and I did review our other policies to see, we weren't sure whether DBJ was the best place to put that notation. It ended up being the best place because the other policies didn't make sense to put it anywhere. So we have put that in the last sentence in the last paragraph on DBJ. So if we can specifically, we pulled, when we made the modifications to DJE, there used to be language around notification of the board or the board having to approve unanticipated or unbudgeted appropriations, and we we took that out of DJE. We felt like it needed to go somewhere, some statement around notification. And so we have added it to DBJ as the last sentence. So just look at those two policies and just make sure that they make sense to you. And if you want to review what our old policies were, you can, they're still on our website as they have been. Okay?
Okay.
So just wanted to highlight that point.
I have a question on
And-
DBJ, but go ahead.
And DJER, we're withdrawing it, but it's going to become part of a procedure and process manual kind of thing. So we're not doing away with the intent of it. We're just not feeling like it needs to be embedded in a policy.
Okay. Okay, so I have a question for JICC. Let's start with that one. Student conduct on school buses. And this is just a procedural question. So the second full paragraph, second sentence, bus drivers have the responsibility to maintain orderly behavior of students on school buses and will report in writing misconduct to the student's principal. Is that actual practice?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question. Easy. And then my other question, going back to DBJ, the second paragraph, which is just a sentence, we were missing something. Any transfer of funds between line items by the superintendent shall be done so only to achieve purposes set forth the goals or aims to be accomplished. What? There's something missing there. I don't know what that means. So, any transfer of funds between line items by the superintendent shall be done. First of all, I get rid of the so only. Nobody talks like that. Shall be done to achieve the purposes.
No, I think we want so only to achieve.
So, okay, but the next part is the part I have a problem on. What does that mean? So only to achieve purposes set forth the goals to, or aims to be accomplished. We're missing a verb or something, or an and, or what? By, maybe? So only to achieve the
To set
purposes
forth
set
by the
forth
goals?
by the goals or aims to be accomplished. Could be by. That would work. We're missing something, some preposition that we need. Otherwise, this is not a sentence.
I think the intention is that the superintendent can't make transfer of funds
Yes.
for things that aren't sort of intended by the specific line item.
I mean, I agree. I
How
just,
about 4?
4? Yeah. So only to achieve the purposes set forth for the goals or aims to be accomplished?
You're right, it's messed up.
I think it's by. Let's just go with by.
What's an aim to be accomplished? Seems like that doesn't need to be in there for the goals to be accomplished.
I mean, yeah, that's just lawyer gobbledygook, but that's fine. So we're just gonna add I just think we'd have to add a by in between fourth and the, so that it is an actual sentence. And those are all the like non-grammatical questions that I had. Does anybody else have any questions about any of these policies? No? Okay, so we have a motion to accept them move them to second reading. All those in favor? Excellent, thank you. Hey, good job, that was more painful than it normally is. We're doing so well. All right.
Part of it was a quick turnaround for
Yeah.
the meeting, and we wanted to make sure that
Oh, no.
some of these policies.
This is super helpful.
Got there.
I mean, I think we do need to take out the review, like.
Yeah, no,
language.
I mean,
Yeah.
I never,
Yeah.
I usually look for the policy.
We can take that out. Yeah. And those policies that we reviewed, this will come out.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, moving on to, but now we need a motion to approve the donation of $50,000 from the Byrne Foundation for the Lebanon High School Take Flight program.
I'll make a motion to approve the donation of $50,000 from the Byrne Foundation for the Lebanon High School Take Flight program.
And second by Mary, moved by MJ. Any additional information or discussion about this program? No? Okay. I do know that if your students are interested in taking it, that they need to reach out to Dr. Bonnie Robinson at the high school for the applications, and there is a process that they have to fill out, and that they should also consult with their counselors to see how a dual period class, a third and fourth period class, would fit in with the rest of their schedule for next year if they were interested in doing it. All right, so all those in favor of approving the donation from the Byrne Foundation? Okay, great. We again thank them for their generosity. Committee updates. Finance and Facilities met on Thursday.
Yes, we did. We had a very lengthy, productive meeting. We did a little follow-up discussion on the CIP and our vision for the future, what we would like to have it more dovetail with the city and have a better tool for planning with the city. Tim reviewed some finance software that from an existing module, and we're talking about maybe having an RFP go out next year for some better capital planning software. That was that. Then we went through, just got a list of all of the high dollar negotiated contracts, such as lawn care, snow plowing, stuff for the district, and asked that, you know, in preparation for the new facilities director coming, to make sure that these are all kind of stored in one place so they can quickly get up to speed and review the contracts, renewal dates, that kind of thing. Talked about the door access when the high school has home basketball games, and trying to limit access going into the Hanover Street School. I think we kind of came up with a game plan on that of just closing some doors. And then we went over the fire department and their timeline for using the SAU for their administrative staff while the new fire station is being built. They're going to move in June and be there for about 18 months, I think you said, and they're going to occupy the third floor, so some of the SAU staff will be relocating offices in preparation for them to come share the building with us. And then we went over Tim's favorites, policy KF and KFR. He loves talking about these. Went through, I think we finally hammered out all the language, and everyone's happy, and all the different levels of users. And sent those notes back to policy of how we would like it to be seen. And then we talked a little bit about the strategic plan that Jess presented on tonight, and I think that's about it. And we
Also
do
saw the deed.
and we saw the deed for the SAU building, which is actually handwritten in cursive.
Unreadable.
And unreadable.
So we're going to get that transcribed so we can read it. That's great.
Do we have to have a historian do that?
Yeah. And we have not put a new meeting on the books yet for March because of the election is kind of messing up our time cycle, so we'll probably meet again in April.
Should we, just for the information of the board, should we meet again, should Finance and Facilities meet again in March? Currently, I'm sitting in for Steve in the committees that he was on, so until the election, so just FYI.
Oh, yeah, and I guess, and for that, the person reviewing invoices for the district is now Jessica in place of Steve and myself.
I'm gonna do a better job.
All right. Policy.
Than me.
Yeah, better. She's going to continue to do a better job and improve on her own performance, not Steve. Good to clarify that. All right. Policy committee met Monday, February 12th.
And we're meeting again on the 26th.
And we've talked at length about your things.
What's that?
And we've talked about
And we've talked about what we're doing.
Good. All right. EC met
I can actually say one thing.
Yeah.
What we're hoping to do in the next packets is highlight new language. So when we get them for first readings, highlight new language and see red strikeouts and so the policies will be printed in color versus
Kind of like the olden days.
Yeah, just like the olden days.
That's not budgeted.
It's just yellow and red. It's fine. It's a little tiny bit. Okay, great, thanks. EC met Monday, February 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the middle school handbooks, as you guys already saw, and there is a pilot coming out in the elementary schools for the science of reading programs to keep up with RSA that's going to be upcoming, and we also discussed updating the policy of kind of the, I can't think of the word, right?
The policy BCE about
Yes.
board, what's the word that I want, board responsibilities. EC has changed a tiny bit because it also now includes student services. And so we put that language into the policy and sent those edits are in our minutes as well.
Yep, and I sent them to the chair of the policy committee.
Perfect.
So
Great.
that will be forthcoming.
Close the loop on that. Excellent work. Okay. PNN committee.
Question about PNN.
Yeah, they need to meet at some point
Yeah,
soon.
we need to meet, and we don't have a chair, so I don't know how we have a meeting called.
I will call one as this chair, and I'll send out an email to PNN tomorrow.
Great.
And we'll work something
Thank
out.
you.
Okay. Okay. Student Wellness Advisory Committee. Their next meeting is Wednesday, May 8th at 3:30 in the SAU office. HACTC. Their next meeting is Tuesday, March 19th at 10 a.m. Did we get area changed yet?
They can't change it.
No. Okay. So, area committee, the next meeting is Tuesday, February 27th at 6 p.m. At Plainfield Elementary School, and I might ask you to go to that meeting. I know, I have to be at the Meet the Candidates.
So are they going to be taped?
They will be taped. They're going to get it. But, well, I can ask somebody else so we can get somebody who doesn't care about that. School District City Task Force met Thursday, January 25th. Do we have anything to share about that?
That feels like so long ago.
It was.
does.
It was a while ago. It was only 2.5 weeks ago, but anything dramatic? That we want to share? No.
I don't know. Do we not have notes from that meeting?
I have not seen the
I
notes.
don't know if Sean, I guess Sean maybe sometimes takes the
Minutes.
notes.
Yeah.
I think the one sort of notable thing that I feel like was stated by the members of the council who were present, which is not the full council, was the fact that there's really not, according to some members of the council, ability to take on the SAU as a sort of thing.
And there's ongoing discussions about what they're doing with the Dana house that sits on our property.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like there were some things said.
So maybe we need to increase our collaboration in some substantive ways, but we don't know what those ways might be. Maybe we'll talk about it. Okay. We'll put that as an agenda item in the future, and we'll discuss. Okay. Any other future, besides that one, any other future agenda items? Or board member questions, recommendations?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I was taking a stroll through our website today and noticed that under the jobs open kind of thing, it says we're looking for a wrestling co-head coach. So question, since we have been having interesting conversations about stipends through budget season and stuff like that, does that mean that that additional coach now decreases all the other coaches' stipends on that list, or do they split the head coach stipend?
To the best of my knowledge, they split the head coach stipend. There are many, interesting to bring that up because there's an annual meeting according to the CBA that's coming up this spring to talk about the stipend list for next year, and that's kind of where this stuff gets worked out. But there's a lot of stuff in the stipend list. There are many things that are funded but not spent, and for example, reserve basketball is the best example of that. So there's reserve basketball for girls that's in there, but it only ever gets paid if there's a reserve team, and for girls there's rarely a reserve team. So there's other examples like that of things that are funded in the stipend list that are not spent, and so sometimes I think Mike moves that money around to other stipends, but the CPA is clear on how much money can be spent and not a penny more, and usually we don't even spend that. I think it's $236,000 for next year. But in general, when there's co-head coaches, I think he splits that into two because one head coach evidently doesn't have a time commitment or whatever. So it's a long answer to say he's usually split, but I'm not sure that sometimes money isn't moved if need be for, if there's 7 gymnastics coaches, only 5 in their thing. They might use another stipend to pay for another coach or something there.
And so that's also an opportunity for something like do discussions happen, so like with the Nordic team being huge, do we look at that? I mean, when do we sort of retroactively look at coaches and what so if we need another coach for Nordic, say, whether it's an assistant coach or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's
like-
really Mike's lane, but I'm assuming when they see that there's 75 kids that signed up, they know how many, there's some sort of staffing model they must use for that, but I don't play in that world, so we'd have to ask Stone. But I think there's a board member representative on that committee,
There
the
is.
stipend committee, but maybe not. You have to look at the contract.
There is.
So.
We need to assign one because
Yeah. Nobody knows
or
about it?
if we have the opportunity to be,
if
we'd
we
like
if,
to
if-
be.
yeah,
Well, it's-
if we're supposed to be on that committee, that would be great.
I'll read the language. It's very clear in the CBA who's on it. It actually
Okay.
spells it out.
All right,
So.
so just let me know if that, when should we look at the language?
Sounds like a good thing for the chair of our PNN, right?
Exactly. That's all, not me. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, important dates and district announcements. Candidate night is Tuesday, February 27th at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall. The next school board meeting is Wednesday, February 28th at 6:30 p.m. Here. And municipal elections come up on Tuesday, March 12th at 7 a.m. And then just for board member FYI, Jessica asked this question earlier, and just to review, because we had made some changes to our meeting dates. To review, we are meeting on March 20th, March 27th, and April 17th. So March 20th will be the organizational meeting post-election, where we'll elect officers and do all that good stuff. Okay? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Wendy makes a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second? Mary seconds. All those in favor? Excellent.